everyone, it's Carla at Bound to Be Vintage. If you're in the mood for a little Christmas spirit, this is the place to be today. I'm going to show you what I've hauled for Christmas, and this haul started back in about January of last year, and I've just been putting it all aside and saving it for one big haul. First, let's get some kind of housekeeping things out of the way. I'm going to be using two hashtags today. The first is Thrifted Treasures. That is by Dale at Not Too Shabby Chic. And the second one is Thrifty Thursday. That's hosted by Sheree over at Turquoise Dreaming. I'm going to put their information down below in the description box so you can check out their channels. And be sure to use those hashtags to search YouTube to find all the different crafters that are participating and thrifting things and then making journals out of them. So today, let's start with the paper. Also, I should say, please excuse my hands. I've been using stamping ink and printing ink all morning, and I've scrubbed, and this is the best they will get. And secondly, if anything's weird and wonky with the vision today, I'm in the middle of cataract surgery, and I have one good eye now and one uncorrected eye. So I'm having a little bit of trouble seeing things, but I want to try to show you something today. So I've got a couple pair of readers nearby, and I'll do the best I can. So enough of my personal announcements. Let's get on and see what I found. One of the first things I found in a Goodwill last winter were these letterpress cards. They were made by a company that does letterpress. And it says, you know, Christmas cheer from Des Moines, Iowa. And if you love old fonts, and I know that a lot of you journal makers do, you frequently mention that, you'll enjoy seeing these. Now with letterpress, you get a little bit of embossing on the back. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but you do see the design a little bit on the back. So there were 5 of these, including these long red envelopes that they go in, and the original package had 6, so only 1 had been used, and I believe it was $1.49. And I thought for such a special handmade item that was great, and Des Moines' my new home, so I was excited to have these. Also, I'm kind of a letterpress fanatic lately, and I'll talk to you about that a bit more toward the end of the video with some other things I have that apply to that. So first I'm showing you paper. So there are those cards. And then I believe at the Goodwill bins, you'll see a number of items from the bins. The Christmas stuff kind of filtered through Goodwill and wound up at the bins last winter. And I don't know if it's true, but they say the bins is the last stop for items. They go to a landfill or clothing shipped overseas. I don't know if that's true, but it makes me feel better to pull things out of the pile for $1.79 a pound and bring them home and potentially use them than have them go to a landfill. So this was just a wrapping paper. I always lean toward an old-fashioned vintage look, and I thought this one had it, and there's quite a bit of it there. This was also from the bins, just a single sheet of scrapbook paper with some old-fashioned scenes of skating and other different winter activities. Thought that would make a good background page. Then at the regular Goodwill, I found this Martha Stewart paper pad. It was $2.49, and I believe I looked earlier and it's from 2008, so it is older. But there's some cute papers in here. Let me see if I can kind of do a flip for you. These gumdrops have kind of like a raised texture to them. And these are two-sided papers. This is some of my favorite, these houses that almost look sort of Scandinavian. Got different colors of that. And I haven't counted, I'm not sure how many sheets were used, but there were enough cute ones left in here that I thought $2.50 was pretty good. Peppermints are cute, and they have a little bit of glitter. I don't know if you can see the sparkle. So it also reminds me that when we use paper, I like to keep the junk in junk journal. I use a wide range of things, some digitals and digital images, some original vintage paper. Sometimes I scan vintage paper, and I like to use just plain old what was considered junk, things that weren't meant to be reused. I like to keep a little bit of that in my journals. So I was going to show you this bag from Trader Joe's. I believe I saved this last year. And this print is a little bit similar to that Martha Stewart paper, where it's got the houses. And it can just be really cute to use some of these brown paper bag things in your journals. So keep an eye out at your grocery stores and see what holiday bags they have and things like that. They can easily be incorporated into a junk journal. Another thing I saved last winter that I thought would be pretty in a journal is this eggnog label. It was on a glass bottle of eggnog. I've got it wrapped up in wax paper because it was still a little sticky after I soaked it off the bottle. But I thought the gold on it was just so pretty. I like the name Holly Hill. I like the font of the word eggnog. I liked everything about it. And I learned from the collage artist Marguerite Miller that wine labels and any kind of bottle label that you like the graphics on can easily be soaked off the bottle and then incorporated into your journal. And to soak it off the bottle, just fill the bottle with warm water. It needs to be pretty warm, but you obviously don't want to put boiling water in there, or it will, potentially it could crack the bottle. But just fill it with warm water up past the label so the entire back of the label has warm water on the glass behind it. And eventually you'll just be able to peel it off. And you see it can come off, it will come off in really good shape if you're patient and wait for that warm water to soften the glue through the glass. So there's a couple junk ideas. My background is also a piece of wrapping paper I picked up at the bins that just has an old-fashioned Christmas print. And again, that could be a nice background paper. Next, I want to show you various trims I've picked up over the past year. This green ribbon has the metallic sort of branch print, and it was just 29 cents at one of the thrift stores. Thought that would be perfect for holiday journals if I go the sparkle route. And then this past weekend, I was at our flea market that I just absolutely love. It's held at the Iowa State Fairgrounds, and this one in November was called the Big One. It had more vendors, and they were in a bigger building, and I got some great stuff, and my video next week will be the remainder of the items I picked up at that flea market that were not Christmas related. So be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, bell, if you're interested in seeing what I picked up at that big flea market. These were 2 ribbons that I picked up, little Christmas trees with snowflakes. And then this Merry Christmas, I just like the font in that. And I didn't really notice when I grabbed them, they have old stickers on them. It says general merchandise, 10 cents. So I guess they are older, but the little cards that they're on are great. It says Sunny Styles with a needle and thread. So those little cards will be great to reuse. Oh, I picked up these little stars and beads. They were in a pile of other stuff, and I pulled them out. I thought they would make good sort of shaker style elements. And then I found a whole bundle of these old trims bundled together at a Goodwill for $2, $1.99. And I got silver stars. And I don't know if West Trim is around anymore or not. I remember I worked part-time at Michael's years ago, and they were all being cleared out, all the West Trim items like these, and being replaced with other brands. So I'm not sure if they're still in production or not, but I just love the nostalgia of them. So red stars, these kind of look almost like little flowers. Same here. Got some green Christmas trees. All different colors of snowflakes. some red snowflakes, more stars, and then the white snowflakes that are sort of iridescent. I picked up this Bow Bunny trim, got some gold, and then sort of this roushed or wrinkled burgundy color. And I also found this Recollections brand that had filtered through the thrift stores with some eyelash and just some metallic trims. I thought those would be fun to use. The stuff I find tends to be either real ornate and Victorian or maybe a little more primitive. So I'll either have a very eclectic Christmas project or I'll have to make a couple of different ones. Some other Christmas related things that I picked up at that big flea market this weekend. I got this little beaded ornament. It's been strung. It's beads stitched onto a perforated paper background. And I just thought that was very pretty. Kind of has that star pattern that you see in quilts. I found this really pretty old book, Christmas Eve by Washington Irving. Cover's so pretty. It's from 1911, and it was $4. And the illustrations are beautiful. And it's kind of a long, skinny book, which is the story of Christmas. Most of the pages are smaller, but there are a few with smaller illustrations, but there are a few larger full-page illustrations. It's got a few condition problems, but I think it might be nice to turn into a journal or take apart and use the elements. And then there's a woman who has a lot of craft things. I've been to her booth the last 2 times. And if you watch Sarah of New England Junk Journals, all summer she went to a woman's place down the road from her a ways, I think, that always had great craft items and Anna Griffin things, and she found a bunch of awesome things over the summer. And I think this lady is my equivalent to that. She has a ton of Anna Griffin stuff. So all of her Anna Griffin die cuts were $3 for the whole sheet. This whole part was in a plastic sleeve that I've removed to get rid of the glare. But you can see their doorways, and they have holiday elements. And the Anna Griffin sheet was included. And you can see all the different holiday doorways that you can make. So I have a feeling every time I'm at the flea market and she's there, I'll be picking up some things from her booth because she's got great items and great prices. I mentioned I kind of do Victorian or primitive for Christmas. Sometimes I do find some things that are sort of retro that I might want to use. These are Ironon Transfers. You're probably familiar with those. But I've picked up several bundles of them. And I pulled out the ones that were Christmas related to put in my Christmas pile here. I think these would be fun to iron on just some plain muslin to make a tuck or a corner pocket or a fabric flip. But I have also had success just ironing these onto paper with a very low iron. And you can't leave the iron in one place for very long or you're going to scorch your background paper. But I did that in my patriotic journal, and it worked out really well and just added to the different layers on the page. And these all have, like I said, a bit of a more retro look. Season's Greetings, that's fun. Of course, they're backwards because they're transfers. So I want to try to use some of these in a Christmas journal to provide some images in a different way. I did find a few stamps, and I'll show you those. And I did stamp them so you could see what they look like. This one of this holly was $2. I believe the brand is Magenta, and it says Made in Canada. And I just did some quick prints with Just Stays On black ink for this one, just on some very inexpensive copy paper. So that stamps pretty well. Then I picked up this sort of snow dome. This was at our consignment store. It was $2.19, and it's pretty true to size. You can see that I've stamped it there. I couldn't find my largest stamping block by the time I wanted to do this, so I just pressed it by hand, so it could definitely be a better print. But I'm excited to play with this. I'm wondering if I could mask off the bottom and stamp the top part with ink onto maybe like acrylic. So I would have a see-through dome, and I could maybe make a shaker card with it with some of those snowflakes and stars and things that I showed you, those West trims. So this is something I really want to play with and see what I can come up with. I've seen an image of a little Victorian girl in a pink outfit trimmed in fur, and I think that would be really pretty in there with some of those big iridescent white or pink snowflakes. Then I found this pack. This was $2.99. I think this was from Vinnie, St. Vincent de Paul. And I've stamped those in green and brown, and they stamp really well. Just some nice, large sort of background images for a page. And then I bought these stamps from, I believe it was AliExpress. And what it is a series of Christmas stamps. And I think the images are just so cute. I really liked a lot of them. Oops, my cut ones are falling off of there. And then I was just going to show you what they look like cut out. And again, this is just very basic black ink on white copy paper. And I wanted to show you how I get that postal stamp edge. I have die cuts, but honestly, I don't use them very much because they're never the right size for the stamp image that I find. So it never works out right with the nice little white border around it. So I saw a post a while back on the Graphics Fairy website on using thinning shears. And that's now what I use to cut out all my stamp images. And I was going to show you with this one. Let me switch glasses so I can see what I'm doing. We'll attempt it anyway. I'll tell you, I'll be glad when this is all said and done and I can see again. Not being able to see is hard for a crafter. So these are the thinning shears. This is what they look like if you're not familiar. Something a salon might use. And I'm sure you could get them in a beauty supply store. Walmart might have them. I was in kind of a limited store location when I bought mine, so I just ordered them off the internet, and supposedly some of the money went to charity from the particular vendor that I found at the time. So what I do is I line the scissors up along the edge where I want it to cut, and I don't cut straight up and down. I angle mine a little bit. I've just found that works better for me, and I'm going to try to get off all those black dots. And you can see the edge I'm left with. And I'll just do it all so you can see the finished project. Like I said, I just find when I angle mine, it just works a little better for me. That's pretty good looking, I think. And then if you feel like these little fuzzies are like a little bit too long, you can always just take your regular scissors and just go in there and trim them down a little bit. These actually turned out pretty well, but I've had a few times, just depending on the paper, I guess, that they're kind of long. So they can always just be snipped down a little bit with your scissors. So that's how I do my my postage stamps. And I think it gives them a pretty authentic look. And it works for any size, so I don't have to worry about the die cut. Then last but not least, I wanted to show you something I'm really excited to use in my holiday journals, and that is letterpress type. If you're not familiar with it, letterpress type was used for printing before we became so digital. Sorry about that. I didn't realize that my computer would get unplugged. I'm having quite the day, aren't I, with vision and power and all sorts of issues. Anyway, as I was saying, letterpress printing was the way printing used to be before it's gone so digital and different methods. And these are different printing blocks that I've found. This is an older one that I've had for quite a while, and it's mounted. So this one is very easy to print with. And what I'm printing on is a printing press that I made myself, and it is a kit produced by Provisional Press, and I will put their information in the description box below in case you're someone who's interested in printing. It is just a small wood frame that fits on my desktop, and it basically works on the same principle as an embossing machine like your Big Shot or something like that. It feeds a sandwich of the type with some packing material on top of it through a cylinder that presses it and presses the ink design onto the paper. So it was a fairly easy little press to build, and I'm enjoying building a letterpress collection so I can print different things on it to add to my journals. And I did get some Christmas items. At this flea market I keep mentioning, there was a woman there, one of the first times I went, who had family members who worked for the newspaper in What Cheer, Iowa, where the huge flea market is. But ironically, I didn't find her there. I found her at the other flea market at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. But she rescued type that was going to be thrown away and had it for sale. I wish I'd bought it all the first time, but luckily for me, she still had it a couple months later once I'd found a press and built it, so I was able to buy the rest of it. And this piece was one of the beauties that I had passed on, and I'm now really glad that was still there. The detail is so pretty, and I started playing around printing some of these this morning so I could show you how they'll turn out. I'm just at the beginning stages of experimenting with different papers and how to get the type that's not mounted, like this one's mounted on a wood block, and it's now what they call type high. So it will just go right on the bed of my press, and it's the perfect height to make a good design. This is not. So I'm having to figure out what I can put under it to get a good image and what paper does what and all of that. Here's another one with a cute little peppermint candy cane and snowflake design. And I'll show you how they're turning out. Like I said, I'm still experimenting. I've got a long way to go, but I'm so excited to use these designs. They were in newspapers, so a lot of them were for advertisements. So this one says Christmas Bargains with the candles and the wreaths, and I love that font. And then this says Holiday Goods Are Here. I've printed those in some green ink. Then that big bell, the beauty I just showed you. It's Christmas Wishes, and you can see all the detail on the bells. The angels and the deer, the holly. It's got a winter scene. And you can see the little tassels hanging down from the bell like the pull cord. All of this type probably needs to be washed really well and cleaned up. I just gave it a quick wipe down and then tried some practice prints to show you. But I'm hoping to get better and better prints as I work with it. This one says, Welcome Christmas Shoppers. I printed that same bell one on a very textured watercolor paper, and you can see that the texture of the watercolor paper kind of took over and almost made this look like fabric, and you don't see the detail. The little black print that I showed you, I just printed that with black ink. But it's so fun to have these old-fashioned graphics. This one, this mailbox with packages, I actually experimented with my Big Shot and tried printing it on there. So I think once I tried this one on the press, it will be even better. You can see I wrote some notes on there to myself. And then these are just so cute. I love that little candy cane border. And snowflakes, I printed that in red. And then our toy department, another fun font. So thanks for joining me today for my Christmas haul. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll subscribe. Feel free to give me a comment. If you give me a like, it really helps my channel to grow. And I've been so happy to have so many new subscribers lately. I welcome each and every one of you, and I want to thank everybody who keeps coming back. Thanks, and I'll see you next week for the rest of the flea market haul. Bye.